Hey everybody, welcome to the third episode of Hoodlums. I'm surprised we got here. I'll be honest.
What?
It's not for any reason that we couldn't. Just fucking man, we're doing it. We're out here.
You goddamn right we are.
We're making shit happen. Anyway,
moves.
Welcome to Hoodlums. I'm Kyle.
I'm Sully.
And I'm Nate, or Fox, as you've probably all guessed.
Yeah. And this is Hoodlums.
Welcome.
How are you guys today?
I'm doing pretty good. I went on a walk today. It's been a while since I've been on a walk. Went almost 5 miles. Felt good. And then I had a very upsetting situation at Cracker Barrel. I walked in, and anybody who hasn't been to a Cracker Barrel before does not know, but they have a store in the middle at the very front that you have to walk through to get to the restaurant, and then that's where you pay and get you to buy all their country bumpkin bullshit. And there are Christmas decorations. It is the middle of fucking October, and they have Christmas decorations all over the place, and it pissed me off. I get November, but it's not even freaking Halloween yet. Like, you're skipping the first pagan holiday before you celebrate the second one. What's wrong with you?
Well,
motherfuckers.
I would come back over the top of that and ask you what the fuck you were doing at a Cracker Barrel.
Because Cracker Barrel serves breakfast all day, motherfucker, and I fucking love me some pancakes at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
You know who else can give you pancakes at 4 o'clock in the afternoon? Literally like 19 other restaurants within a 5-mile radius of you.
Yeah, but
I can give you pancakes at that time.
All those other restaurants have a bunch of jackasses in them. I want to go to some place where I can eat pancakes at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and the only other person in there is an old couple in the corner minding their own damn business.
You're telling me that you walked into a Cracker Barrel and you didn't think that everybody else in that place voted for Trump?
Well, there's a chance. But I also live in a very progressive leftist town, so they're actually...
yeah, but you were a Cracker Barrel, motherfucker.
It's literally called Cracker Barrel.
Yeah. But our hostess was black, and I'm pretty sure he was gay, and he flirted with me a little bit, and then we also had
had to throw that part
I mean, I can't help it.
He flirted with me a little bit.
That hostess looks into my eyes, and they just get that glimmer. They have to say something. Then our waitress actually multiple times has been a lesbian girl with tattoos on one of her arms.
Did she flirt with you too?
No, she didn't. She was mostly just eyeballing Whitney and acting a little nervous, but that's okay. We're used to that by now. So I would say this is a very non-normal Cracker Barrel experience.
Yeah.
As far as the right-wing Trump supporters being the primary people there.
I would venture to guess that the ownership of the name Cracker Barrel had no idea what they were getting themselves into if they opened one there.
Probably not.
I think there's like some sort of standard that they got to meet, right?
Well, so long that it looks like a barn on the inside, that's all that really matters.
You're just triggering me. I fucking hate Cracker Barrel. I hate it so much. I can't eat there. Give me the fucking heebies just sitting here thinking about it. Oh my god! What else you do today?
Yeah, that's about it, man.
You didn't work? Wait, what is?
Well, I did work. I mean, that feels like so repetitious, not even worth mentioning anymore.
Yeah. So just a heads up for those of you, this is a special little episode.
I worked all day.
What? Can you not hear me, fucker? Hello?
I hear you. I hear what? Hello?
Fox, you hear me?
Did we interrupt you, Kyle? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Please. Please.
I had already been talking and you just kept going. I legitimately thought you couldn't hear me.
I'm waiting.
Oh, okay. Well, fuck it.
The stage is yours, sir.
I'm not even sure I remember what I was going to say.
Must have been important.
Okay. No, it's usually we record this on a weekend, but we're recording this early in the week.
True.
On a Wednesday. So whereas we don't normally work on Saturdays, things are switched up because Fox is going to be out of town this weekend. Fox, I don't know if you want to tell them about that, but
I'm fucking everything up. Yeah. So this weekend, I've actually spent the last week and a half with running around my head cut off trying to plan for this. My one of my best buds is getting married in a few weeks, and I'm the best man, and I got to put a bachelor party together, and it is this weekend. We're leaving Friday morning, coming back Sunday evening, and we've got a full weekend planned. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be relaxing. It's not going to be too crazy. Not a typical bachelor party. We're not doing any strippers. We're not doing Vegas. We're not doing anything nuts. We're just going to spend some time on I guess I can tell what it is now. This won't be posted until after the fact, but we're doing rented a cabin on Lake of the Ozarks, and we're going to probably play some board games and some tabletop stuff, and maybe rent a boat, get out on the water. We don't know. There'll be a lot of drinking, shit like that, shenanigans, but it'll be a good time. I'm excited.
You boys going to touch butts?
I hope so. If not, I'm going to come back real disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. That's like the whole point, right? Especially being out on the Ozarks.
Yeah, I mean, if I don't touch at least one butt, I'm going to be upset.
Yeah,
get your money back.
Yeah, and it's not even anybody. It's the butt of the people you're there with. That's the important part, right?
Yeah, I mean that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited about that. Today's Wednesday, so I worked all day, worked late, and then I had a gym appointment. I went and worked out with a personal trainer, and she beat the crap out of me. And then
stick a finger in?
No, that didn't happen. It didn't happen. We talked about life and movies while she worked me to the bone. And because I'm very out of shape, so it didn't take much. I'm
just curious if by worked you to the bone, you mean she stuck a finger in.
Anyway, yeah, I don't even know how to respond to that. I can't respond to that. This is like live or on the air or some shit. I can't talk about that. You know what I'm saying? But no, it's good. You know, getting into the gym, getting healthy. It's something that's been kind of important to me for a while now, and moving in on it. And other than that, it's been a pretty uneventful day. So, Kyle, what about you? What did you do today?
What did I do today? I got up and went on a walk this morning. I go on walks pretty much every weekday morning. It's pretty nice. I ordered some magnetic and clip-on earrings that got here today.
What?
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been thinking about getting my ears pierced. And of course it probably comes down to like fashion statement with earrings, but I got some cool ones, and I wanted to see what I look like before having my ears pierced before actually doing it.
I appreciate that. That's cool.
Yeah, and it was like a $10 kit of some actually like really high quality like magnetic earrings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see an issue with that magnetic stuff anyway. Like, why does someone look down on because they don't want to put a hole in their ears if they can put something on that functionally does the same thing, you know? But so I'm down with the idea of it. I just wanted to see what I look like with them in. And honestly, I think it's pretty cool. I also don't know if I'd want to do one ear or both. I haven't decided yet, but that is the whole dilemma with that. Otherwise,
what location? Like on the lobes?
Yeah, on the lobes.
I think I know the answer to this question, but is your intent to gauge?
No.
Okay.
Thank God.
I didn't.
No,
What do you mean?
I don't want to
thank
gauge.
God. Hold on a second.
I would say thank God too.
I know that I had an assumption that Kyle had no intention of gauging, and I get that. Sullivan.
Yeah.
Mr. Sully. What?
Yes.
You and I grew up in almost the same era, man.
We did, but I still hate gauges.
Really? Why?
They must smell.
Dude, it's one of those things
where
you
keep that shit clean. Come on.
It's one of those things where I was like, I went to college in this town where every other person had their ears gauged. And it's just, I've seen the aftermath of people who didn't want their gauges, people who gauged at too fast. And I don't know. It's unattractive to me. It's something that I never found attractive. I had a girlfriend that at one point in time that was talking about it. And I just straight up told her, it's like, I'm not going to tell you what to do or what not to do. I just do not find them attractive. And she chose not to until after we broke up, which was nice. I wasn't trying to control her or anything. But then like one of our friends who gauged his ears, like, one of them broke, like it snapped and because he did it wrong or something. And then he just had these floppy, weird ears and it's one of those things that You can't fix it.
I know. It's like if you fucking gauge it out real big, like some of these people, if you just don't wear the earrings, like what the fuck is the deal? You've got a big fucking loop in your ear, bro.
And it's floppy.
You've got fucking
so
Eeyore
bad.
ears, bro. Like you're fucking take off if a strong gust comes by.
And I'm all for piercings. I got 3 piercings on the outer cartilage of my left ear. Like I'm all for piercings, but when it comes to making like the gauging system of making something bigger and bigger and bigger, and to the point that it's almost irreversible, it's basic. I don't know. It's as bad as getting a face tattoo in my opinion, because it's something that you really can't hide if you choose to change your lifestyle, or you like, because so many people, like, we went through phases and some of us never got out of that phase, and that's perfectly fine, but it locks you in without needing like some kind of surgery. And even with that surgery, you basically don't have earlobes, and everyone knows. And it's just, I don't know. I'm not someone that wants something like, as someone who has a full sleeve, I'm not someone who's a fan of something permanent being done to my face. And it's pretty permanent to a point.
Yeah. We just maybe came up with a new topic, folks. We could seriously come back to body modification in a full episode sometime.
Hell yeah.
Because I've got some strong ass opinions on this, and I think you're both wrong, but it's okay. Like, that
means it's going to be a good topic.
My body is my temple, you fucking sinner.
Well, no. Oh man, what a fucking segue. We'll get back to that in a second. The dumbest thing is that this is like the 4th time I've mentioned someone like needing Jesus or reading the Bible, and I'm like the least fucking religious person, which is probably the funniest thing. I think all 3 of us are.
Yeah, but it does lead us into our topic today.
It does. I'm not done though, motherfuckers. No, anyway, that's cool. You know, it's your body, right? It's your choice. People can do whatever they want, whether they choose to do something or not choose to do something.
As long as the government has nothing to say about it.
Exactly. But I can't.
Oh, Biden.
It's always about individualism, right? It was originally about individualism. So whatever. I'm going to fucking drop it. All right, moving on.
Biden.
Let's get to the topic today. Folks, you guys shut the fuck up. Yeah, all right. I remember this. Topics for today. So we're going to do something a little bit different today, guys. This is not a normal episode of Hoodlums. Normally we have a topic of discussion, and then we have a couple segments, and then we move on for the day. This is a little different. We kind of came up with this on the fly. We're going to do something new, and we're going to call it This Is How I Hoodlum. And essentially, the day is dedicated to one of us, where we kind of discuss essentially how we are a hoodlum. And it's going to be different for all 3 of us. Sometimes it'll be a full episode. It might be a segment here and there. We just kind of want to play with the idea and see what everybody thinks. But today's episode is dedicated to Sully over here. There he is. His cute little face and cute little voice right there.
Oh, babe.
Babe. Yeah, so he's going to...
Shit, Whitney's still awake.
Hi, Whitney. Main topic of today that he wants to talk about with how he is a hoodlum is Satanism and how it fits into his life. So,
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan. Also, if you decide you want to tell us stories of your own, which we would love to see, you can hit any of our Twitter accounts, and we'll plug at the end with something with hashtag how I hoodlum in it. Be a good time. Maybe we'll go over some on the podcast at some point.
That's a hell of an idea. That's a hell of an idea. Maybe. All right, Sully, take it away.
So this idea for Satanism came up not too long ago. I forget how the conversation was going, but I admitted to being a Satanist. And my buddy Nate over here immediately said, bullshit. And I backed up and I said,
I'm going to need to defend myself after you talk about it.
But I said, yes, I am a Satanist. And one of our other buddies in Discord has shared some Satanist iconography and symbols that we both are able to identify and appreciate. And it's something I picked up slowly learning about, and I've delved into everything from some of its origins to like the Satanism in the Bible and all the stuff that is actually in there and the stuff that's fake. And I've done a decent amount of research before deciding that I am a Satanist. This is what I follow. And we're going to get into everything from the history, the labels, and even the books that are bound to it, and what Satanism means to me and how I identify as a Satanist as well. And I'm also going to be questioning our buddies here, be giving them a questionnaire a little bit later and see where they might fall.
Teacher, will I be graded?
You're not going to get a pass or fail. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I don't understand what that means.
Yeah, I want to be able to compete.
So,
I want to be able to.
Can't pass or fail, but you can get a 50%, bitch.
You know how back when Facebook wasn't just for a bunch of boomers, and you could like scroll down, and then there'd be a quiz of what kind of bread you are, and you take it and answer questions, and it tells you.
You mean like BuzzFeed?
Yeah, kind of like that. It's going to be something very similar to that, but
so I'm going to answer questions and you're going to tell me what I actually am. You're going to be like, listen, motherfucker, I know you think you're fucking Southern
Are you trying to tell me that,
or whatever the fuck you are, but you're actually a fucking Satanist.
Are you trying to tell me that No Child Left Behind does not apply to here?
I mean, how many children do you see left behind? How true is that?
It depends upon how I feel at the end of this. God damn it!
I guess we're gonna find out.
See what I did there? God damn it! So I need to preface something really quick to defend myself. Yes, I came after Sully when he mentioned that this was a long time ago too.
Was it really?
It feels like a while.
It was a
ago.
long time ago.
Yeah, and I just for a little background before we get into this, I studied religion in school and not like Christianity or anything like that. I have a degree in anthropology. I do. I have a degree in social cultural anthropology, and my focus was belief systems, mainly indigenous belief systems, but I actually studied this stuff in school.
Nice.
And most of the time when somebody says that they're a Satanist, they're full of shit because they have no idea what they're talking about. So I made a judgment call when Sully said he was a Satanist, and I said bullshit, and then he proved me wrong. So there's that.
Yeah,
Back to you, buddy.
I do remember that you did. You just wanted to make sure I wasn't just saying it for the shiggles, which ironically is half of what Satanism is nowadays anyway. But
yeah, kind of.
But yeah, so I guess the best way that I like starting to talk about Satanism is identifying who or what Satan is as far as lore is concerned. And we hear when you hear Satan and all the evil things nowadays against Christianity or whatnot. And I'm going to first start off by saying that I'm sorry to my parents if they decide to listen to this, because I know every one of my whole family is Christian. My mom is Methodist. My stepdad is Catholic. My dad and stepmom are Episcopalian. And I love them all to death. And this means nothing against them. And it means nothing against Christianity as a whole. If I sound like I'm bashing Christianity, this is all...
He is.
This is just my personal feelings on things, and I do not judge people that believe in Christianity.
If I knew this was some sort of coming out story, I'd have brought balloons.
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
I haven't issues.
I've had a little bit of a discussion with my dad, and but nothing major. And my dad has admitted that he does not believe in the literal interpretation of the Bible, that he sees it as a teaching method of life stories and ways to handle situations, which is really what it should be used as. It's, if you go by the literal interpretation, we can get into that for a long time.
That's another topic.
That's 3 topics right there. Jesus.
Literally.
But anyway, so Lucifer is the fallen angel that is the common name that we are usually hearing as the proper name. And then we hear things like Satan, we hear devil, Baphomet, Leviathan, Beelzebub, and these are all different things. And that's what a lot of people don't get. And Christianity decided that all of these incarnations of evil need to be slapped into one big bad that we can blame everything. And I have never found anything that proves this, but my personal understanding of how symbolism and Christianity works is we've given Jesus and God multiple names. You've got the Lord of Lords, King of Kings, all the names. I'm not going to go through them all. And so we did something similar to his nemesis, where we see all these names and they're all evil, so they must all all be from the same person. And it's like Leviathan and Beelzebub are demons. Baphomet's not even a part of Christianity. That's a pagan dude. Satan was originally this green demon with a face on his ass that just fucked with people, and it was part of art. The devil was a trickster character who was an idiot, and he was easy to banish. He was one of the first characters that Christians were given as fuel for using God's name as a weapon against evil, where this trickster demon, like basically that looks like a satyr, would show up, kind of fuck with things, be a dumbass, and you just say like the power of Christ compels you, or whatever phrase you wanted to, and he'd go away. And it was a way of making Christians feel like God was protecting them against evil, and that they could weaponize his name in a way that would protect them. And these are all things that have just grown over the years and been misrepresented and thrown together as our giant combination evil deity that is Satan. And I don't know why Satan was the one that we all landed on as for Satanism, other than the fact that it's just fun to say. Oh, you do?
I do.
Then please.
So Satanism was originally one of the first times that we actually in history that was used. We used Satan as, or Christians, I should say Christians, the church used Satan negatively towards a people, was actually the Knights Templar. When they believed that they were what the Knights Templar were actually doing were pagan rituals, which of course goes against the church. They turned it into a word. They used the word Satan, and they're Satanists. They're Satan, they're worshiping the devil. They're worshiping Satan, which in a translation, which I'm sure you'll get into here in a minute, Satan inadvertently translates to adversary. Right. It's used to negatively affect or define something that goes against the beliefs of the church. So the Knights Templar were some of the first, and of course we have the Salem witch trials. All any witches were believed to be worshiping Satan when it really had nothing to do with Satan. Of course, it came back to pagan rituals, and it was just basically a word used to vilify anything against the church.
Yeah, and that was actually my next step, was talking about the fun Satanism and the fucked up Satanisms.
Yes, thanks for fucking ruining it.
No, that's a perfect segue actually. So you hear about the fucked up Satanism all the time, like the Salem witch trials, and basically anything that's witchery or just you can't answer. And if you see, like where Enchanted comes from, of just there's a hot young thing in the village and all the men want her, and so she's enchanted them with a pact with the devil, and blah 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 blah, and everything is just thrown to that. And you'll have like more modern things like Richard Ramirez, who was a serial killer, and his whole thing was he was always Hail Satan and drawing pentagrams and all this other shit, but he only did it because Satan was metal and he was into metal, and that was just a cool thing for him to latch onto and kind of scare people with, because he was all about scaring people and being this untouchable force. And Satan was, you could get into the mental illness of this dude, and he might have actually believed Satan was protecting him, which is why he was so obtuse about some things. But that's once again another topic for another day. But the Knights Templar was one of the original like Satanist clubs, and I say clubs because it was one of those. I'm not sure if there's actual evidence towards them doing that stuff, but they were definitely this military order originally dealing with the Crusades and all that. And then once they were kind of established in Jerusalem, they essentially became a international bank. And they stopped doing all the crusading bullshit and being this mercenary group. They mostly only protected their own after a while, and only about 10% of them were actually combat. The rest of them were just all about finances and how they can make money for the church, and originally for themselves, and eventually establish the church and try and do all the tithing better and use the funds better to just make this giant international bank and just get rich off of it. And that's kind of why like games like Assassin's Creed has taken them as this giant conglomerate that is going to take over the world, and a bunch of other people have vilified them. But there were the rumors of at least them using rituals and magic and all these things hush hush under the carpet and trying to use that to make them more powerful. And that's kind of where we get our Masonic lodges and Shriners lodges that we have nowadays. Is when the Knights Templar was disbanded, essentially about 200 to 300 years after they were founded. You had all these splinter groups that kind of like, oh, well, there's a void now, and we're going to start doing these brotherhoodly things, because it kind of started this, once they stopped doing the mercenary group, it was this secret organization. Everyone wants to be a part of something exclusive. And so
my dad was a Freemason.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he was. And also, I'll be honest, it really doesn't sound too unrealistic to say that the fucking Knights Templar would secretly continue, and now they're part of the fucking bigwig Illuminati. Like that.
That's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah,
I mean, it sounds like it could be true. Well, it really does.
Well, they were very like open for a while, and then that being open made them targets. Once they became known as this group that kind of pulled back from their military and mostly worked on money, then they became a target for people that wanted to steal and fuck with their shit. And so that's kind of where they started falling apart, and that's where they might have actually just gone into seclusion and just shred all the fat, and now they're just this tiny little secret organization. And that's where you get the Freemasons and the Masonic lodges, and that these brotherhoods basically they were mostly trying to promote working together and accomplishing things for the betterment of mankind and peace. And we don't know if they were doing that for their own gain, if they were actually cared about everything. Most of them were typically Christian, but they were all still had this level of expectancy of using ritualistic magic to help them accomplish these goals. And the fucked up part is, if you don't know anything about ancient magic and all these other magic ritual things, and this is where it really starts getting fucked up, is most of these rituals were sex rituals. Like they literally required blood. They literally required like a release of blood or sexual energy. So you basically get these brotherhoods of rich old men getting together, getting fucked up, and tripping balls on opium, and then sucking each other off for these rituals to get their spells to work. And that's kind of where this origin of sex magic and corruption and all, because if you find out that all these men that you have this high respect for and esteem for, you find out they're all having gay orgies in secret, what's the easiest excuse? That the devil made me do it, or they're Satanists, or there's no way they're actually Christians, and blah blah blah. And so that's where a lot of these rumors and a lot of this bullshit comes from, is actually using these ancient magic rituals. And it's very normal when you actually deep down understand why we choose why they chose these magic things, and why certain things have power. Like blood, without blood, you're dead. So it must have some level of life force in it, and there's got to be some power to blood. What the best that you feel in this euphoric feeling is when you're coming. So there must be some magic to orgasming. There's got to. So we harness those things and we grab it.
When you're fucking coming, he said. Yeah, I'm not going to hold back when you're coming.
Nine Inch Nails said it the best. You get you closer to God. And so there's got to be magic, and then what you make when you come makes life and babies, and so that must have some magic power to it. So you get into all this ancient magic and all this bullshit, and people throw it at Satanism, but it's really just ancient magic. This is just what shamans and all these old order people would do, is use blood and cum and sex energy to make their rituals work.
It sounds like a fucking weird hentai game on Steam.
Dude, it is so, like, when you start getting into leftist magic and chaos magic and all these other magics that I've studied.
Leftist magic?
Yes, it's not. It has nothing to do with politics.
You're telling me they still like magic now?
I mean, it's very easy for you to start talking. Yes. It's very easy for Q to say, "Oh, there's leftist magic exists and sex energy, and the Democrats must be raping children in order to summon the devil." And blah blah blah. It's like, oh my god, dude, shut the fuck up.
This is kind of a weird plug, but for anybody listening at home, and you guys are even relatively interested in any of this, if you want a fictional kind of interpretation of some of this stuff that's based on factual evidence, go check out Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code.
Yes.
It's a fantastic book. It's a great adaptation into a movie. Tom Hanks plays the main character. And Dan Brown has done a lot of research into, paganism and Knights Templar and the Freemasons and kind of, that Illuminati-esque stuff, and takes that and interprets it his own way, but it covers a lot of this kind of stuff. So if you want at least a fictional take on some of this stuff, and it's pretty neat. It's pretty cool. Check out the movie. I
haven't seen the movie. I've wanted to read the book. I should probably just read or I almost just said read the movie. I should
read the movie.
the
book
movie.
Is great. Honestly, the movie is good enough because it had such a stellar cast. It was directed really well. It gets a lot of hate. Honestly, because of its subject matter. It does deal a little bit in these like Sully was talking about, some of the sexual acts that were done.
It paints Christians pretty poorly because the only major Christians in the movie were fucking nuts.
Yeah, they were, and honestly, God, it escapes me what sect they were from, but it definitely, like, cardinals and high ups in the Catholic Church are basically criminalized and vilified in the movie for sure. So if you're not into that, don't. But that's the perspective, and it's an interesting one. It's like I said, it's fictional, but it is good. Check it out.
Yeah. And then we have the fun Satanism clubs, which basically is the Hellfire clubs. They originated in Europe in the 1700s, and Ben Franklin was actually part of one of these Hellfire clubs. I believe he was in one in France for a time, and it fits because he was a total disgusting asshole if you actually know anything about Ben Franklin and legitimacy and not what you learned in third grade. But they were basically fuck clubs. You'd get dressed up and praise Baphomet and do some opium and then start penetrating your friends. And it was
it's fucking hot.
Yeah, it was basically just a way of having this secret brotherhood. And I don't know if the sexual thing was just because it was taboo, if they were actually all secretly gay or what. It doesn't matter. That's just what they did. It was just this secret organization consisting of dudes, because women weren't allowed in anything back then. And they just partied. And they did everything. They basically acted like they were in Rome, do as the Romans do. They had their festivals, they had fun, they would get together on a regular basis, and that's just what they would go after. And then we have our American, a little more well-known, but all filled with secrecy and hearsay and rumor, is the Bohemian Grove Satanist Club. Is basically a super secret club of important people that met up in a secluded area for about 2 weeks each year in Northern California. It's named Bohemian Grove because that's where they would meet. And it is super secret. I think one person tried sneaking in and he had the shit beat out of him and he was dumped down the road 30 miles. They took him way the fuck away and left him with nothing. But they would basically burn effigies, typically an owl with a human effigy inside. It kind of denote wisdom and all sorts of other bullshit. But they would have a 2-week-long party, and they would just get fucked up on drugs and booze and all fuck each other. And it was just this giant party. But it was what was crazy about it is it usually was of powerful people, like politicians and the people at the top of the tech industry. And they would make decisions supposedly to better the world, or they would shoot the shit with each other in ways they couldn't in other situations, and they would make the world better with these decisions. Or if you want to follow the conspiracy theorists, which could have some merit, this is where huge decisions for the Manhattan Project came around, where they would just start talking about how are we going to win this war? We need something that is unprecedented. We need to come up with a weapons project that no one else can beat. And then they found the Manhattan Project there. Or you start hearing about the conspiracy theories for 9/11 or whatever else you want to give to these rich people that control everything. And they would come up with these decisions during their 2-week-long fuck party. And that's basically
There's
where we get.
that's a camp, right? There's a camp that people say they do this shit in like California.
Yeah.
Alex Jones talks about it a lot. Oh, Bohemian Grove.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that's kind of like, they say people do that shit all the time, and there's pictures of like Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan being there and fucking.
Yep.
Maybe that's what Jeffrey Epstein's island was for.
That's where like people like Epstein and people higher up that didn't really have jobs, they just had money and influence. That's where they would meet up. It's rich people party, and you have no idea what's going on there, because if you're not in, you don't know. And that's kind of where Satanism also gets its shitty stuff, because those people are also connected with all sorts of fucked up shit. But those are the more fun clubs. I know the Hellfire Club was originally made to kind of make fun of the Masonic lodges, as we don't need to have all your stuff going on. We're just going to get fucked up and fuck each other. We don't need your excuses. And kind of just started from there. Yeah.
I respect it.
And it all comes down to Satan being the adversary, that definition, and anything that's bad, anybody that's hot or having a good time or anything that's against Christianity just becomes, you're the devil, you're possessed.
Vilifying the anti-control.
Yeah. And it was just common practice also to just, anytime that something bad was going on, you'd blame a demon. And then demons were, and it became common practice because demons were originally used in folktales. They were used to keep people from doing stupid things. Like all those warning labels we have on everything, don't drink the bleach. There were folktales of demons that were the ancient equivalent of that. And so you'd have stories of don't climb up a mountain, jump off a cliff, don't do this, don't do that, in order to keep people from doing stupid shit. And then you'd start getting people making up their own tales once they realized the ability to blame things on demons. And so then you get the tales of get caught fucking your neighbor's wife, blame a demon. And there you go. I was possessed and tricked by a demon. I thought it was my wife. He hallucinated. He hallucinated, and and all the way up to like 1600s. Like this, I'm saying this stuff started back in the 300s of demons and all that shit. And then one of my favorite stories is the Loudun possession, which is Loudun, France. It's in the 1600s, and there's this a bunch of nuns. Got all pissed off because a new hot priest came into town. When I say hot, he was attractive. He had been known for being philanderous. I think he knocked up someone's daughter, and that person wasn't of import yet, but eventually they did, and that was going to be bad news for him. But basically, they all started acting like they were possessed, and they were upset because this guy was taking their parishioners. So they did the classic possession stuff of freaking out and contorting and talking in tongues, and it started getting more and more sexual the more attention that they got. And it got bad enough that they called in the church in order to try and exorcise these women. And they did public exorcisms for years. Like this went so far out of hand. They did public exorcisms. I think it was for like 5 or 6 years. And like the head nun was the one that started it, and it just went down the line. And they would start talking about how this one priest was the one that was summoning the demons and forcing them to do all this stuff. And it got really sexual. So during their public exorcisms, they would basically just masturbate and yell out, fuck me, fuck me. And
I'm gonna come.
Yeah, and then they would perform the exorcisms. They would get some of the demons out because they would have hundreds of demons in them, and so they'd get some of them out. You got to show up next time to see which ones to get next time.
That's just called post-nut clarity.
But it was a way for them to make money, and they would get tourists.
What? You heard me.
I fucking wish I didn't.
It's just fucking post-nut clarity. That's all it is. That's all it fucking
But it was a tourist trap, essentially. It was they made
it was free advertisement, baby.
You want to watch a bunch of nuns masturbate while getting exercised? Show up, donate, and there you go. And
only if I gotta throw my coins at her like the bad girl she is.
at this time, this isn't something that you go see. Like Kyle's over here, sexifying it up, man. You got to imagine a crowd of people watching this, especially the women, and they're freaking out. This is not really sexualized in any way. Publicly.
It's scary.
It scared the shit out of people back then. Mm-hmm. This is the kind of, it's horror.
They're also nuns, and these people are supposed to be close to God and married to God and protected and all this other shit. So if this is happening to them, what could happen to you?
Scare tactics, man. They're fucking powerful.
Yeah, and it freaked people out. And this was 1600s, so this is right when like all the witch stuff started getting popular. And this was in Europe, and it started blowing up fast and just got way out of hand. And so we have demons and Satan and the devil and whatever you want to call him blamed for everything. Every bad thing that ever happens is blamed on this evil deity. And you see that in all sorts of other cultures as well. It's always demons, evil spirit, upset spirit. You built your shit on an Indian burial ground and you've got a spirit haunting you. It's always some evil entity that is seeking either vengeance or manipulation or some kind of power control from you. And I mean, that's where all this Satanism bullshit comes from. That's where it goes. It's all about the fear mongering, like Nate said, and it's one of those things where it still strikes fear in most people's brains when they hear Satanism or Satanist cult, and they still want to blame the demons and the devil on all sorts of stupid shit that happens. And I don't know. I don't see Satanism as that anymore, because I actually did some research and listened to some people talk about it and have learned that modern Satanism is nothing like any of this shit.
Speaking of modern Satanism,
really,
yeah,
Fox, how much do you know about the TST?
The TST.
The TST?
Yeah, the TST, aka
like
one of my testes
when we go
in your
TT?
throat.
Like when I go TT?
No, the TST is a legitimate thing. Sully was telling me about it earlier.
Yes, the Satanist temple. It's the modern Satanist temple of basically. We'll get into that. We're not there yet.
One of these TSTs in your fucking throat, bitch.
But there's some other misconceptions, which the biggest one I would say is hell. Hell is one of those things where almost everything we think we know about hell nowadays is all fictionalized from artistry, poems, and it has nothing. And there's really not
hell
that
is
much.
Not even in the Bible.
Yeah, it's not in the Bible, and people love quoting the lake of fire, mentioning from Jesus. And the irony behind that is Jesus was literally talking about a garbage fire outside the city when he was saying someone should be cast into the lake of fire. He just wanted someone to be thrown into a garbage fire because they were a piece of shit.
Throw that motherfucker in the fire.
He wasn't talking about hell at all. And most of our depictions come from like painters and people that are mentally ill that throw all the fucked up shit in their brain onto canvas. And one of my favorites is probably Hieronymus Bosch. He had the Garden of Earthly Delights, where it's this huge canvas divided into 3 sections, one of which pretty much represents hell. It's got all these forms of torture and flying demons and all sorts of fucked up shit going on.
The Divine Comedy, baby.
Yep. And it's just people being creative and then it getting attached to our belief system, because that's just how a lot of this shit happens. Is it just like how those 10 different names are all smacked into one to describe Lucifer, and Lucifer wasn't any of that shit. Lucifer was a bringer of knowledge. If anything, Lucifer was a hero. I mean, in my understanding of the literal interpretations of the Bibles as a story, Lucifer was literally the person that saved us from servitude in the Garden of Eden. He brought us knowledge. He was known as the light bringer. He stood up to God when he knew that he was going up against someone he could never defeat, and he still stood in defiance, saying that I don't agree with this.
He was, I'm sure what you'll get into, he was the symbol of individualism in the face of conformity.
Yes. That is a huge thing about Satanism, is do not conform. if you are following something, it's because it's what you believe in, not because everyone else is doing it. And that's basically Satanism in a nutshell, is do what you want to do so long it doesn't fuck with other people. But and I learned about Catharism, which was this other unorthodox sect of Christianity, and they actually touch into that of Satan being what's the best way to describe it? He's at the same level, or he's this other deity of the whole evil God, good God thing, and they spin it in a fun way, where you have the theory of God was actually evil, Satan was the good one, and he was trying to save us from the evil tyrant of God. Because if you read into the Bible and the 250 million people God killed, and Satan only killed 10, and they were all commanded of him, and all the genocide and infanticide and all the other bullshit that happens in the Old Testament. And in the 12th century, this group that called themselves the Catharists basically tried to figure out why the Bible was like that, and they came up with their own little explanation. And they believed that the New Testament God and the Old Testament God were two different entities. That Old Testament was the God of physical creation, and he was the one that did all the evil bullshit and fucked up everything, killed all the people, and they referred to him as Satan. And the New Testament God was the spiritual creator. He created heaven, and that's why he sent his son into the physical realm to try and save us and follow the rules of Satan in order to save other people. And it didn't end up working, and blah, 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 blah. And it wasn't a fix-all Band-Aid, and they still had to actually forgive people properly. And this kind of goes into a little bit of Scientology belief, but what they believed was human spirits were actually angel spirits trapped in the physical world and had to be inside of humans. And the only way that they could be released back into the spiritual world with the good God is if they were given a baptism right before they died, so that they couldn't sin, and then they would be released. And if you failed to do that, you'd just be reincarnated again to try again. And that was their belief, and that was their attempt to understand the Bible and what it was saying. And there's no way that Old Testament and New Testament God were the same person, because they act completely different, even though there's still some stuff in the New Testament that's fucked up. And you can even get into Revelation, where people fear the apocalypse and all these terrible things that are happening. And if you actually study the book of Revelation, and understand the period that it was written in and the stuff going on, Revelation was literally just talking about the fucked up shit that was going on in Rome. It had nothing to do with an actual apocalypse. The whole sign of the beast and 666 and all the symbology and all that stuff could easily be translated into the hierarchies and the political system of Rome. And it literally has nothing to do with an actual apocalypse. So it's so much stuff of just people taking creative licensing on stuff that other people made and saying, we're going to weaponize this in order to get more followers and make more money. And it worked.
I always thought that the Cathari were very cool. It was like Enlightenment before Enlightenment happened, long before Enlightenment happened. I mean, like you touched on, they just refused to believe that there was only one God. So they created their good God, which was the New Testament God and the old God. The good God from the Old Testament was the evil God. And that he was the one that created the mortal world. The mortal world is sinful and terrible. And I always thought that was kind of it was just interesting to me.
It was like an attempt because back then everything was repressed. It was difficult to get religious texts. It was difficult to be an individual and have your own thoughts and your own philosophy and break away from the norms without just being an outright pagan. And the fact that they lasted almost 200 years with these thoughts.
Sort of.
But they were constantly persecuted. Yes, they didn't live a second without persecution, but still the fact that they came up with these ideas back in the days where that would get you burned at the stake was impressive. I mean,
outward Christians, calling themselves, I believe, the good Christians, in the middle of a Christian country, a Christian world, and saying there is more than one God. I mean, holy shit. That was a big deal. That was a big, and that's ultimately why they disappeared. I mean, well, disappeared is a strong word, but basically.
Yeah. I mean, they
joined the Knights Templar and running the world.
Yeah. I mean, they're gone. They're not around anymore. So technically, they disappeared. But I'm just glad that we have somehow retained the knowledge of their existence, and now it's something you can research. But yeah, so now we can get into more the modern Satanists. And so I'm going to basically start by stating that there are two types of Satanists. There are the Satanists that are theist Satanists or theological Satanists that believe that Satan is an actual deity and that he wants you to do everything that you can for your own individualism and be the best person that you can be. And then you have the atheist Satanist, which is basically what I am. It's a little less fun than that one, but that's honestly what I believe.
Less fun.
It is less fun. It is so much less fun. I just the thought of this being Satan existing and actually having something to do with all the good shit that we want to actually pile onto him.
I think the theistic viewpoint is even kind of a stretch because they don't. If I'm not mistaken, they actually believe him to be more of like a patriarch than an actual deity.
Yes.
Am I right?
That is correct. He doesn't have the same, like, he has influence, but
he's not omnipotent or whatever.
No, he's not everywhere. He doesn't know everything, and he's not all powerful. He has no powers. He's like a fallen angel. He has been stripped of most of his powers. He has some influence, but it's not enough. It's like if you were to do some chaos magic with some Satanist rituals, he might be able to have some influence, but as far as the totality of his power, it is almost non-existent.
For the next episode, let's do a fucking workshop on running chaos magic.
Well, chaos magic is definitely another step farther into the direction we have currently taken. It is so much deeper and so much more fucked up than just a bunch of old dudes jerking each other off in a lodge.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we should definitely I don't know, give us a supply list. And then next time we do, we'll do a segment and we'll just record us for half an hour and see if one of us dies.
I will definitely prep to do a chaos magic in the future, because chaos magic and the other magic,
I would love to do that.
They're a lot of fun.
I would 100% love to just do it and record it, have everyone turn their fucking lights off and just see.
I'm actually a slight believer in chaos magic as well. I don't.
Oh yeah.
So it's
you'd want us to do one that would have an actual effect, right? You probably wouldn't want to do something along the lines of summon this fucker that's gonna kill you, right?
No, I mean that's not exactly how it works, but there are some dangers to it if you believe in it, and there's a whole we'll get into it. Don't you worry. That is now slated for the future.
Okay, but one thing real quick, right before we start getting into real modern Satanism, we should probably take a little break. So, any thoughts before we do that?
Oh, good call.
I think I'm good.
Okay. He thinks he's good, Fox?
No, we're good. Let's hit it.
Alrighty, well, here's some tunes. And we'll catch you right after. Hey everybody, welcome back to the third episode of Hoodlums. Hope you enjoyed our nice little break and the tunes that are included.
Good tunes.
Yeah.
I like music.
Okay. Anyway, we're gonna hop right back into it.
Music is my aeroplane.
All right. So, I guess what I wanted to do before I got into the specifics and whatnot of the Satanists was I wanted to have this questionnaire that I've teased a couple times. So it's 5 questions, I believe. Yeah, 5 questions. I got a lot of fucking notes here. Shut up. So I guess I'm going to give you 3 options for each of these questions, and it's just some of the options are a little long. So if you need me to restate them, feel free.
Do I need to write anything down?
No. I think I got that. I'm
Okay.
gonna do little marks of who answered what. It's only 5 questions. I
He
think
is
we'll
taking
figure
notes
it
of
out.
who to fucking put down out back at the
Yeah.
end
At
of the
home,
podcast.
get out a notepad. Take the quiz
Yeah,
yourself.
take notes, okay?
Yeah, take the quiz
that
yourself.
or answer along. Answer along on Twitter. Something. Fucking.
All right.
Check
So
how I hoodlum.
yeah.
No.
So,
Oh yeah, I guess.
if the law of the land is unjust, how should you respond? We have fuck the law of the land. Your God will protect you against your worldly enemies, and you will be rewarded. You have your deity and sacred text are above all worldly institutions. You should do everything in your power to force others to conform to your religion's judicial teachings, including but not limited to taking everything that they own. Or C, pursue justice as best you can without infringing on the freedoms of others. Attempt to enact change in the laws of the land to better serve justice. Those are your 3 options.
This is a real test that's been
Yeah.
assessed to real
What the
people.
fuck is going on?
No, this is a real test, and I feel like I've taken it before.
I actually made this on my own.
You did not.
I did.
I call bullshit, sir.
I made this on my own. I
Okay,
went-
when you say law of the, okay, wait, what's
the law of the
question?
land. So an example would be abortion. Let's say that you want abortion to be you want to have your girlfriend get an abortion, but it is illegal to have
I will
abortions.
get an abortion myself. first of
So
all.
yeah, so you have fuck the law of the land. Your God will protect you against your worldly enemies. So if you
It's
go to
certainly
jail
not
or
that
whatever,
one.
yeah. You have your deity and your sacred text are above all worldly
That's not
institutions.
it
So
either. It's got to be C.
okay, so pursue justice as best you can without infringing on the freedoms of others. Attempt to enact change in the laws of the land to better serve justice.
Yeah.
All right, Nate.
C.
Okay. All right, our next one is how do you view one's personal rights? A is personal rights are sacred. Everyone should be respected, whether they offend you or not. Everyone is responsible for their own actions, and if someone infringes on the freedoms of another person, then their own rights are forfeit. B, you and your own are all that matter. Anyone who has something you want or wants what you have is your enemy and doesn't deserve to breathe. Or C, if someone attacks you, you should forgive them. If they repeatedly attack you, you should continue to forgive them, and your deity will protect you or reward you.
These questions seem pointed. I can't imagine anyone picking other than A.
Well, you've got a very defined circle of people that you deal with. I'm serious.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
Well,
I've got
yeah.
plenty of friends that wouldn't pick A. I mean, I'm picking A, but I've got plenty of people that wouldn't.
Interesting.
I do too. Especially B. I have a few others that is truly what they believe, and that's just how they. But the only reason they don't follow that perfectly is because they know they'll get in trouble.
And
Yeah,
I know
maybe those people should fuck off.
I know
Yeah.
plenty of people that would pick C.
Mm-hmm.
What was C again?
C is if someone attacks you, you should forgive them. If they repeatedly attack you, you should continue to forgive them, and your deity will protect you or reward
yeah, that's just anyone that goes to church on Sundays. Like,
That's a blanket. I don't know if I agree with that, Kyle.
I'm joking. Who gives a shit? Who gives
Okay.
a shit?
Now for a big one.
Oh, God,
that's
these
going to
were
be a
big.
little obvious. If science proves a key element of your religion to be false, you should A, your religion is infallible. Your deity created the universe with possible scientific findings that go against its teachings as a test, or the scientist is lying. B, their science is sorcery and they are dangerous. They should be killed.
It's that one.
Or C, conform to the scientific understanding and adjust your beliefs accordingly.
Obviously C. 100% C. Anyone that doesn't say C should be fucking put to death.
Careful.
No, fucking pull out the guillotine. I don't give a fuck. Do it in my front yard.
So you're going with B, science is sorcery and people should be killed.
No.
Just said people should be killed.
No, but science isn't sorcery, though. That's
But-
the important part.
But they're dangerous.
If you
so
flipped
if
it
someone,
and you said science is not sorcery and people that believe it is should be killed, yeah, I'm on board.
okay.
But like the way you got it, no.
Incredible.
Okay. Next one. If you were to sin, what actions should be taken? A, do your best to amend any harm your sin has caused. B, apologize and promise not to do it again. Or C, you should be punished if you were caught and do better to not get caught next time.
For this, it depends who I'm doing it to.
I'm sinning right now.
Yeah, he's got a pinky in his fucking urethra.
Using
What
one hand.
the fuck?
Yeah.
How
You can fit
are
a
you
pinky?
watching me now right now? What the fuck? My camera's off. All right. What were A and B again?
A is do your best to amend any harm your sin has caused. Fuck, I'm doing these out of order, possibly. All right. So our three are A, do your best to amend any harm your sin has caused. B, apologize and promise not to do it again. C, you should be punished if you were caught and do better to not get caught next time.
I don't like any of these answers.
Yeah, I feel like to most people it would be some combination of A or B, but there are definitely people that I would say C for.
Mm-hmm.
Like people or entities that I'm having conduct with.
Yeah.
Read A and B very carefully one more time.
A is do your best to amend any harm your sin has caused. And then B is apologize and promise not to do it again.
I'm going to go with A on the grounds that I'm not defining my act as a sin, but the interpreter is, and therefore I'm answering A.
Okay.
Just
That's
to be
Well, that's actually a very
kind
good,
to my fellow man and their beliefs. I'm going to go with A.
and that's part of the philosophy for that answer is that it doesn't matter what someone else thinks as far as what their beliefs are. If you have done something that has harmed someone else, that can be considered a sin. And in whatever philosophy you have, like your own moral code, if you've harmed someone, that could be your own personal sin, and you apologize and
That's kind of how I view
try
it.
to amend.
How I viewed it.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very deep statement because we can call, I mean, the Bible and a moral code. There's a whole topic right there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the way my brain read that question is I didn't even notice you said sin the first time around. I just immediately took the basic meaning of the question to be if you do something to someone that's wrong, then you say you're sorry and you make a promise not to do it again. And I think, yeah. I mean, just not even factoring sin into it until Fox brought it up. I didn't even know it was there.
Yeah. All right. And then our last one. If a law of your religion seems unjust, heartless, or ignorant, how should you handle that? A, trust in the religious teachings of your deity and follow your religious teachings without question. B, you are wrong and you should punish yourself for questioning beings greater than you. Or C, follow what you feel is right. Compassion, justice, and wisdom are top priorities.
That one.
See?
All right.
Though in the fucking scripture of these nuts, I think I'm among good people.
So you want to take a guess as to why I gave you this questionnaire?
To try to figure out if we believe in the same shit that modern Satanists do?
Yeah.
You fucker.
And y'all basically answered all of the... this was so many questions for the 7 tenets of Satanism, and y'all answered almost all of them to agree with the 7 tenets of Satanism.
Which ones did I not get?
I would say apologize and promise not to do it again as Christian, and do your best to amend any harm your sin has caused as Satanist.
Well, so, I mean, the weird thing with me is, like, if I did something fucked up to anyone that I know, that I actually cared about, amending with, I would do both of those things. Those are both.
Yeah. I think the philosophy behind it is just saying something doesn't mean anything if you're not willing to try and fix it.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and so that's where part of amending can be apologizing. Like amending can be anything from emotional support to physical support for whatever.
Okay, well, my answer would be 100% A then.
All right, then that was definitely then that's Satanism. Yeah. So I'm going to go over the tenets real quick so that we can we'll understand why these answers were that way. And so this was a combination of Old and New Testament Christianity, paganism, and Satanism for the 3 answers. And it was multiple different types of paganism. for the paganism, because there's just so much. I just couldn't pick one.
It's a blanket term.
Yeah, it's a blanket term. It's basically, it's like, fuck the law of the land, your God will protect you, and blah, blah, blah. There's just all sorts of shit going on there. But anyway, the first one is one should strive to act with compassion and empathy toward all creatures in accordance with reason. The second, the struggle for justice is ongoing and a necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions. So that's kind of like, if you feel something is wrong, you shouldn't break the law or harm people because you think it's wrong, but you should do what you feel is right and do your best to try and amend those laws and see what you can do to have the pursuit of justice be what is the priority. Then we've got two that kind of go together. Number 3 is one's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone. And 4, the freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willingly and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forego one's own. 5, belief should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world. One should take care never to distort scientific facts to fit one's beliefs. 6, people are fallible. If one makes a mistake, one should do one's best to rectify it and resolve any harm that might have been caused. And 7, every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word. And so all of those questions basically posed a situation where you have multiple options, and y'all basically chose to follow the tenets of Satanism in each of those situations in comparison to New and Old Testament Christianity or paganism.
Yeah, I'm going to go look up a picture of the neckbeard that wrote those and toss them up on for the YouTube video. I think we're going to have a good time there kind of looking. No, but it sounds to me like it's literally just the tenets of being an honor code. Fucking human being.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a humanist code. It's a secular humanist code of understanding the basics of morality and following it. And there's all sorts of other things that come in. Like there's the 9 satanic sins and the 9 statements as well that come along with this. Now, I'm not going to get into all the statements because most of them are dated, but there are 2 that I really like. And they're the last 2.
You cherry picking, boy?
I did cherry pick.
You cherry picking, boy?
The last 2 are actually pretty fucking hilarious. So the first one is Satan represents all the deadly sins as they all lead to physical, mental, or emotional satisfaction. Now, when I say sins, I'm not talking about the 10 Commandments. I'm talking about pride, envy, lust, greed, gluttony, sloth, wrath. Yeah. These are all only sins if you indulge in them to a large extent. Like, there's nothing wrong with being prideful. There's nothing wrong with being envious of someone. Just don't steal their shit. It's a drive for success. It's ambition. Envy is ambition. It's wanting to do something better because you see someone else that has something good and you want that as well. So you're going to try and be as good as them, if not better than them. You see a big yacht. You want a yacht? I'm going to have a better yacht than that motherfucker. And you have gluttony. There's nothing wrong with it, with rewarding yourself every once in a while. Don't overindulge, obviously, but there's nothing wrong with that. Greed is similar to envy. It's a driving force. Lust is normal. That's like, obviously don't rape people because that goes against the 3rd tenet. It's don't do anything that harms other people, but there's nothing wrong with your sexuality. Sloth, take breaks. There's nothing wrong with procrastinating every once in a while, so long you're not like self-defeating.
And you're not like me.
Yeah. Exactly. You're going a little too much on that side, but that's okay. We still love you. We'll forgive you.
What the fuck? That wasn't like a fucking bat signal for Sully fucking bully me.
Oh no.
I quit.
And then we have Wrath, the example that might be given if I'm too mean to Kyle.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with it. Avenging yourself or defending yourself, so long it's not taken to an extent to where it's cruel or merciless. And then the last statement, which is one of my favorites, is Satan has been the best friend of the church because it has kept it in business for all these years.
Mm-hmm.
What a homie.
Yeah, I mean, it's the fear-mongering we were talking about before, where there's just so much like eternal damnation. Satan's going to do all these terrible things and blah, 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 blah. It's okay, whatever. But the sins are also a lot of fun. So the first one is stupidity. Being stupid is a sin.
Thank God.
And it's because stupidity is something that can be fixed. It's something that it's like ignorance, similar to ignorance, where you need to study. If you don't know something, research it, figure out, ask questions. And you've got number 2 is pretentiousness. 3 is solipsism. It's basically the idea that you are the only true human to exist and no one deserves your respect. Then 4 is self-deceit, which I think most of us are very, very well versed in self-deceit of all sorts of things. The most common being, I don't need to write that down.
The fuck you sound? Oh my God!
We're
biggest lie you've ever told yourself.
Attacked right now for not taking notes.
Biggest lie you've ever told yourself, especially in school, is I don't need to write that down.
Oh, I thought that was targeted towards what
no. I'm saying
write this down?
As humans' belief and pride in their memory is one of those. Like it's you're not gonna remember that shit. Like you might remember it for an hour, you might remember it for 5 minutes. Then there's herd conformity. We've talked about conformity being basically against Satanism. 6, lack of perception. It's kind of like 1 where if you don't know something or whatnot, you do your best to get all sides of a story before you make a judgment. 7, forgetful of past orthodoxies. Basically, just learn from your past and all the other bullshit that's changed and why it's changed. And then there's counterproductive pride. And final, lack of aesthetics. Now, aesthetics is not don't be ugly. It's not saying don't be ugly. It's saying have an appreciation for beauty. You don't and be concerned about beauty. Like you can be slothful, but don't let your hygiene affect your appearance. Don't let your take a bath. Be self-sufficient and take care of yourself, even though you're being a little slothful. Care about what you look like to an extent that you're happy with who you are, and also have appreciation for the beauty in the world and art and all that other shit. Because if you're just going to be a cynical asshole, then you're an asshole. But so those are basically some of the cornerstones or belief systems or tenets or whatever you want to call them that revolve around the modern atheism or modern atheistic Satanism. And it's what really drew me in, is learning that this is just basically secular humanism with the fun spin of adding some religion to it. And it doesn't believe in the deity of Satan. Satan is more of a symbol for the natural energy that explains what we haven't figured out yet, or magic, or whatever you want to call things that are beyond our control. It believes that life is equally fair and cruel. You need to believe in yourself more than you believe in some supernatural being to save you. And it's I don't know how much farther to go than just don't be a dick, believe in yourself, and enjoy that Satanism brings all these fun symbols to fuck with people that are bigots and hypocrites. Mm-hmm.
It sounds like modern Satanism is, it breaks down into a couple points, and those are A, be a decent fucking human being, mm-hmm. and B, it's more of an it sounds more like a set of ideals than it is like a traditional religion. So yes. Instead of like using Satan like a deity, like you said, it's more so like
it's a symbol.
Satan stands for all of these things. And we align ourselves with this symbol because we believe in what it stands for.
Yeah, and there's power in symbology, and that's kind of where Satanists and the Temple of Satan and all the other people, that's why they've chosen Satanism, is because it's a symbol. It's something to get behind. There's power behind it. There's power behind the robes. And that's what Christianity is tacked on. That's why there's crosses everywhere. Symbolism has power. It has this sense of belief and feeling of correctness and inclusiveness, and Satanism embraces that. They understand that there's power in that, and there's a feeling of camaraderie, and they want to embrace that as well, instead of just being like, oh, I'm just an atheist that thinks people should not be dicks. No, I'm a Satanist. I believe all these things, but also I think the devil's cool, and that's fucking metal, and hell yeah, bro. And having fun with it instead of just like, and the other thing that goes along with that is when you have a religion, that is a legitimate religion. Satanism is technically a religion in America, and the Temple of Satanism allows donations. It allows membership. You can get a card and a certificate and all that other shit. But they're
TSTs.
Yeah, TST. I need to order mine, but
you're right, you do.
What I like about them is they use, in America, with the whole freedom of religion bullshit, they use that against the government as much as they can. Like, they have this whole reproductive freedom thing that they've been fighting for months, ever since the thing in Texas happened, where if you're in Texas and you're having problems, if you communicate with them, they have lawyers lined up ready to help you. And if you feel like you need to have an abortion within the 24 weeks, and that's something that you want, they believe in religious, or they believe in reproductive freedoms. And it's not just that; it's basically anything where the government, they feel, is overreaching, and it's pushing other religions as their doctrine for government instead of keeping church and state separate like they're supposed to. That's where the Temple of Satan steps in, and it's like, all right, well, you want to wield religion like it's some governing entity. Well, welcome to Satanism. We're going to do the same thing. And they do the best that they can to be good people with using those religious rights and helping people. And so that's another reason I think that's fucking awesome. I can't stand the fact that the church expects 10% of your income and that they're not going to give any of it to the government, and they're just going to keep pocketing all and building these mega churches. I went to a place,
successful business in history. Yeah,
completely. And there's Scientology, like L. Ron Hubbard. It's one of my favorite quotes is, if the best business you can make or whatever is to found a religion, and then he did it, and it's nuts. I went to a Baptist school in high school, and I went to a lot of different religious institutions when I was growing up, but the Baptist school I went to was jokingly named the Baptidome, or Six Flags Over Jesus. The Baptidome. I shit you not. It was, if you went to
like a movie.
Yeah,
it totally does.
They had a map inside in case you got lost. I shit you not. Like, if you went to when you go to fucking Six Flags and you find these maps posted everywhere telling you where you are, there were 5 of those in this fucking mega church. And it's baffling. And you go into the place of worship, and it's half the size of a fucking football stadium. It's huge. And they got TV cameras everywhere and all this extra bullshit. And
I bet it can hold ridiculous. A whole lot of love for Jesus. Let's be honest.
Oh my God. It was so big. And the offices and all the other things for Sunday school and daycare center and all that other shit, they got so big, they literally threw a middle school and a high school into it. And that's where I went to my last year of middle school, and 3 years of high school was there. They ended up, with the money that they made off of it being a private school, on top of it being a church that made a shit ton of money, they built a whole new high school. And what I don't get is, even when it came to the school, they shit all over the money that they were spending, or they shit all over us and flaunted the money they were spending. They gave a tour of the new school, and they said that they spent $250,000 on these awesome concrete stained floors. And then when I went to my AP physics class, we used Hot Wheels stopwatches and tennis balls.
Hell yeah.
$250,000 on the floors, and you can't get us a single fucking machine or system to use for physics beyond just, oh my God, sports equipment? Seriously? So I mean, I have my own hangups for certain things, but that level of abuse you don't see in Satanism. You don't see, like, they use their money to pay for lawyers, to pay for help charities, and they spend all of their money in ways that they can do to help people. And of course, there's probably some people in the system that are on the take because that's their job, and that's fair. But they're not building giant temples and giant churches and throwing money at it and getting private jets, and that kind of stuff pissed me off. Growing up, learning about Christianity and how some of this shit was abused, it pushed me away. And then I considered myself atheist for a while, and then I learned a little bit about Satanism from just a few podcasts or a TV show here or there, and I kind of delved into it a little bit and learned more and did a little research, and I learned about the sins and the tenets and a few other things. And then over the years, I've just slowly learned more and more until I did a little last minute research before our podcast, but most of this stuff I inherently knew. It's because I find it interesting and I believe most of it, and I think it's a great way to live, and I enjoy walking around with a pentagram on my shirt and getting a few looks sometimes.
Fuck yeah. I mean, so as someone that's never been super religious, I grew up in a Christian household, and my mom would have had me go to church if I would have wanted to, but thankfully my household has always been very like choice oriented. Because my dad is a pretty hardcore atheist, and so there's always been that choice there, I guess. That kind of left us in this place where I could think about it myself, but I never really went anywhere religious with it. If I had to go somewhere religious, or if I were to turn around and go somewhere religious, it sounds like it's where I would be. I mean, it essentially just stands for,
it's like a non-religious religion.
Yeah. I mean, it's more like a code to live by that you can also reap some of the benefits of having a religion from. Like,
yeah,
it's almost like taking advantage of a skewed system. Right. It's like, how about, look at all these people using religions for fucked up shit. But how about we make a religion? We instead just make it like, hey, don't be a douchebag. And then we call it a religion so we can get all the benefits these other douchebags are getting. And so, it sounds like a dub to me. I don't like, I consider myself kind of a spiritual person, but I don't think Satanism turns away from that. I think it probably embraces that on a certain level.
And I would say spiritual is a good term, because I used that term before I considered myself Satanist. And I say these things as I'm sitting here looking at my tattoo I have on my left arm. That's a full sleeve, and it is literally the Serenity Prayer translated into Enochian, which is a language of the angels.
Yeah.
But the Serenity Prayer is not inherently Christian. It's not in the Bible. It was a prayer of, I would say, fits into Satanism. It's God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the power to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to tell the difference.
Yeah,
it's a peaceful prayer, as it's explained, and it's one of those things that I've lived by. I've heard my whole life, and I decided that it was important enough to me to throw it on my arm in a fun way.
Yeah,
one's faith does not need to be directed at any one deity.
Yeah.
Like the Christians have the cornerstone on the word faith, and I hate it.
Yeah. Fuckers.
But yeah, and then I think it's time for Nate to stand up and let me know
tell
what
us
you believe.
That he disagrees with everything you have to say.
Tell me that I'm.
First of all, you're a fucking idiot. Secondly,
well, I know he is very intelligent, and he's also educated in this stuff. So I am very curious to hear his take.
Well, I mean, I love that I was really hoping, Kyle, that you would speak up and say what you thought. Because I was just interested in your take, because I knew that you're not a religious person. You didn't really grow up that way. And Satanism is very drawing to our age group. Yeah. It really is. And, it's funny because the original idea of Satanism, I mean, it's almost like it was almost making fun of Christianity. They coined this term Satanism for adversary, and people ran with it. They were like, okay, yeah, we're going to believe in Satan. Sure.
Yeah.
But we're going to have morals directed inward and of our own making, not the ones that you push on us and take our money and institute all these ridiculous rules and enslave us. I mean, there's a whole laundry list of things that are wrong with anything that's been done under one God, if you want to call it that, or multiple gods. And Satanism, the idea of the Satanic Church or the Satanism is is really, it's just countering that. It's like a counter argument. And it was brilliant. It was satirical almost. And people just kind of ran with it, and it was just kind of fluttering around. And then in the current era, like Sully talked about, he talked about the current age, the current Satanism, the current satanic temple, and all this kind of stuff. And I have a couple friends that believe in the Church of Satan, and they call themselves Satanists. And I have a love-hate relationship because, to keep a really long story short, I studied religion in school because I was very interested in why people believe things. Why do we put faith to something? Why do we put faith in a higher power? Why do we look up or down at a deity? Why do we believe what we believe? And I've gone through several phases, and I still do. My ideas change. One of the main ones that I love is fear. We're fear of the unknown, and we have to define it. Another one that I became really interested in, and I don't remember who originally came up with the idea, but it was during Enlightenment or slightly before, in the 1600s. It was the idea that we build faith, or we build, as a human species, we build religion around an uncontainable ego. That our ego is somehow evil, and we put an entity to that. We believe that, nihilism and all the things that we believe in ourselves, and it can be dangerous. So we put it on a shelf, and we call it God, and it tells us what to do. That basically our ego, our deity, tells us to keep right and to be right. And it's an interesting concept. And I don't know, Sully, if you've ever read, have you ever read the Satanic Bible?
I have not read the Satanic Bible, but I have heard, I know the basics of what it contains, and I have heard a few of the essays. So
the newer or the current version of
the LaVey one, right?
Right. The current Satanic Temple, or it's really the atheistic Satanism, was really founded by a man named Anton LaVey. And he wrote the Satanic Bible sometime in the 60s, and he, either before or after that, he basically formed this church and became the first high priest of the Satanic Temple. The Satanic Temple, like you were saying, the Satanic Temple, it's a real place. There's real high priests. There's which would be equivalent to like a pope. There's a real leader. There's real leadership there. And he was the first of the current Church of Satan. And he basically described Satanism as an ethical egoism, or an ethical ego. It's not looking bad. You described it perfectly with all the tenets and all that kind of stuff. It's not bad to feel good about yourself. It's not bad to do things for yourself. When I first read the Satanic Bible, I was wafting back and forth between Satanism, because it really does have presentable ideas that I appreciate. But it's still a church. It's still a religion. And therefore, in my head...
Did it lose your interest when you got to Belial and Leviathan and it started talking about the magic rituals?
No. For me, and this is very personal, and this is going to be a very one-sided view, and probably in the minority, but I personally believe that ego can be very dangerous if left unchecked. And, nihilism and vanity, I think, are some of the worst traits that people can have. I think that there's a difference between believing in yourself and putting yourself on a pedestal.
Yeah.
And unchecked egoism scares me. And he talks a lot about the human ego and how we should nurture it. And, the idea of I am the most important person, everything else doesn't quite matter. I personally don't like that ideal, which is in itself kind of the beauty of freedom. And I can choose to not believe that. And that's wonderful and all, but it's kind of what turns me away from Satanism. I love all the tenets. I love all the ideas. It's great. I think it's fantastic, especially like Kyle said, in a life with lack of religion, this one speaks to people.
Yeah.
And especially in our era, especially in, people our age and millennials. And whatever else comes after us, it's definitely drawing, and that in itself scares me a little bit, and I'm wary of it, and so no, I don't consider myself a Satanist. I probably never will.
Yeah, diving too much into the Epicureanism can be very dangerous.
Yeah,
and that's where you have to follow the tenets, and I think that's why they're so important, is because everything needs to be done with a level of restraint and following the tenets, because that's where I see the danger in it, is you'll see people that will latch on to one or two things because they're looking for something, because they're lost. They want something that they can hold on to that isn't the normal conformity of the religion, and then they see, oh, this is literally a non-conformity religion, and they see a few things that they love, and then they see that it promotes hedonism, and then they're like, fuck yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's just and it's dangerous, and you have to embrace all of it for it to work. And
I think that
too many people won't.
Yep, and I think there are just too many people out there that just don't, like you said, they don't like. What's the first tenet? Stupidity, right? Stupidity is a sin, because too many people see Satanism and go, "Fuck yeah," and they're like, "I'm in." Did you even pay attention? Do you know why this existed? Do you know where it's coming from? And I just think that that's semi-dangerous. And like I said, egoism is just something that it goes against everything that I believe in, and and that's me, and that maybe to a fault. I understand that, but it's still who I am. So it's a very personal reason why I'm not like, I just don't turn to Satanism. I don't subscribe to it, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, it's definitely dangerous, and it's one of those reasons. Like, there's a reason why Christianity exists and all these other religions exist that have all these rules, like the Ten Commandments. It's because, left unchecked, people are a bunch of bastards, and there's a danger to giving someone this type of religion or this type of worldviews, because it kind of takes the reins off of them, and just kind of like, all right, don't be a dick, and here you go. And then they have all these things to quote that boost their ego, like you said. And it
kind of sounds like that's a part of it, right? So to me, at least, so I don't know anything about Satanism other than what you guys have just talked about for the last like hour and a half. But to me, I mean, as someone from the outside looking in and that just learned about it, it sounds like that's the point. There's this inherent idea that both of you seem to be alluding to some extent, that ego, when left unchecked, when too much in power, causes humans to crack and break and shit like that. But to take this idea of Satanism and to tell people, hey, listen, like, you don't need these reins, you are perfectly capable as you are to handle these things, as long as you follow these ideas of what makes a human being good, then we have faith in you to be able to take care of yourself. Right. And that, I mean, something about that is appealing. It sounds appealing. It not even on a level of like, I need something to latch onto, so thank you for fucking believing in me, but just as someone that does inherently believe that humanity is good, I mean, that sounds right up my alley anyway, and that sounds intentional.
Yeah, it basically extols the virtues of exploring your own nature and instincts and being yourself. And it's like atheistic Satanists. They've been described as believing that God and Satan are not external entities, but rather projections of like your own individual personality. And that's one way some people can try and wrap that around, is it's like, it's your conscience. Like, people, you say you hear those voices, or don't do that, or I feel bad when I do that. And instead of thinking that those are some deities or something, no, that's you, and understanding that it's you, and that's your own moral code talking to you. But some people don't have those same checks and balances and in their own system, and they need those rules of other religions, and Satanism has them. You just have to embrace them all. It's an all or nothing kind of thing, as if you don't dive in and take everything, like all the tenets of, because where that ego comes is, I imagine, and you've seen it before, of people that are Satanists, or they act like they're Satanists, and they're dicks to people that are religious. And there is a level of contempt that comes with being an atheist and being in an atheistic religion type of thing. But you're still breaking the third and fourth tenet if you're a dick to someone who is has a faith in something or a religion that they follow, and that's where people break, is they use it as a weapon instead of a way of making themselves better.
Yeah, no, I absolutely get that. And honestly, so kind of touching on the idea of hating on people that have faith, even from outside of Satanism, I've never really gotten that. Like, I went to school with a girl who I considered to be a really good friend, especially at the time. And at the college we went to, it was technically religiously affiliated. And because of that, you had to take at least one class or at least one religion course before you could graduate. And this girl became something of a fucking legend in a bad way by going into that class and every single day challenging the professor by saying, like, basically just saying, hey, God isn't real and you should know it.
Wow.
And it was like very borderline offensive and aggressive, and it was super weird. And I never really viewed her the same way after that, but she took a lot of pride in it. And she definitely focused on a lot of pagan ideals, specifically, maybe some Satanism. I never really got too much into that with her, but she kind of leaned that way. And it was super weird to me because I've always kind of viewed faith, as long as you're not using it to persecute somebody or to tell someone that they're a piece of shit or whatever. Some people just need something to believe in, right? They need something to work towards. They need, I mean, that's humanity almost, to a degree, is like you need that push, that motivation. And sometimes you just need to feel like you're not so alone. So I get it. I mean, I will never tell someone you're stupid for believing in this, because first of all, how could any of us possibly know? We can't. There's no way. But secondly, fucking, it's not my business. And if you need it to maintain your business, go for it. Like, who am I to tell you not to?
That's a very, very strong point. It's the reason why it's the reason why I have a hard time associating myself as an atheist. Because I have so many friends who actually don't really understand what atheism actually is. And especially going through school in the social sciences and in anthropology, and then even focusing more into religious studies, I was surrounded by people who were atheists who were like that. Yeah. And it's so at my heart, I am an atheist, but I actually more identify. When I tell people what I believe in, I mark myself as a free thinker. And free, some people call that a cop-out. I call agnosticism a cop-out. But I think that, in the time of Enlightenment, we're going back to this Enlightenment time in the 1700s, the idea of a free thinker is none of these options, none of these religions that you have access to, I'm not going to discredit any of them. They're all possible. Yeah. And the reason that they're all possible is because, A, we don't know. Like you said, I mean, if you believe in science wholeheartedly, it kind of disproves it all. But we don't know about an afterlife. We don't know what happens to our conscious self after we die. We have no clue, and we never will until it's too late. And I just don't want to press my own vacuum beliefs on somebody who has faith because of, like what you just said, Kyle. You're not hurting anybody. You believe what you want to get yourself through the day.
Yeah.
That's all we're trying to do here on this giant fucking rock. Just let people be.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. Now, on the other hand, if someone comes up to me and is like, well, the Bible says you can't do that, oh, fuck you. Like, go jump off a cliff. Like, I don't have any care for what you have to say. It's not worth my energy. It's not worth dealing with.
That's the ticket there. They're trying to press it on you.
Yeah.
And that's not okay.
Fuck them. Fuck them.
Don't do that.
Fuck them.
I don't think that would be consensual.
Well, I'm not going to make any comments on that.
I mean, you're probably right, but moving on.
Yeah, no, I think I'm done talking to you.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, I think we're done here.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the fucking Satanism and the non-consent, Sully.
Uh-huh.
Appreciate it.
You ruined your whole fucking speech. The whole episode's gone.
Yeah, I'm gonna
All
go
right.
delete this. Everyone, y'all got anything to shout out?
Hail Satan.
No, well, there you go.
No.
Shout out Satan, my man. Mwah!
Even the Church of Satan is even a terrible name.
It's the temple
Because
of
it's-
Satan.
It's a terrible name because it's still focusing on the irony.
Yeah.
Honestly, it should be called the Church of Lucifer.
Yeah. I
Isn't
mean,
it just the same thing in different words?
No,
But-
we just spent the whole episode just telling you how it's not. Were you listening?
No, I think you're just stupid.
no, Lucifer. So Satan, the Satan that the Church of Satan or the Temple of Satan actually embodies is more like Baphomet, not even Satan or Lucifer at all.
Oh, right. You said that.
Yeah.
You said that.
I
Because
understand that.
Baphomet's a pagan deity that is basically the amalgamation of a bunch of
Right.
deities that's about balance.
But the whole idea, like we talked about originally, is that Lucifer being the angel and being the hero of individualism
True.
is pretty much where we're going here, right?
Yeah.
Well, my point has been stated. Moving on.
Well, God fucking bless. Or should I say Satan?
Satan
But
something.
Satan blesses.
Satan slipped a finger in. That's
Sneeze
all
on
I
my
have to say
Cheerios,
about it.
Satan, and bless me
Satan,
today.
bring it fully around. Satan
Give
slipped a
me
finger
your
in.
holy mucus.
Okay, well, that's fucked up. Okay. Fucking hail Satan. Like Sully said, there you go.
Hail
Perfect.
Satan.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, by the way, with not so much of that, but a lot of other stuff at Kyle_XCBI. Fox.
I am
versus-
the
Yeah.
Fox Ltd.
Yeah.
You can
And
find me on MySpace/Texan.
my man said, you can find me on Zynga.com/Texan093XX.
Or the Freemason boards on Reddit.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
true. You can find me on the religion board on 4chan. Having a good time, always
Rest
nonstop.
in peace. Rest
Also,
in
remember,
peace.
if you want to share any stories of your own about how you hoodlum, just on Twitter, #HowYouHoodlum. Don't be afraid to tag Fox or I in it. If we do see it, there's a good chance we'll probably talk about it in a future episode.
Oh yeah.
So thanks a lot for hanging out. We appreciate you, and see you next week.
Mwah.
Doodles.
Yeah.